today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Hi everyone, it's Rebecca, the Colorful Book Nester, and yes, it's been a very long time. I say that I think at the beginning of every video, but had a whole lot going on in life, but also mentally, so I needed a bit of regrouping time, and I've decided that one of my biggest challenges I have living here in Singapore is actually in my or in our apartment, our condo. The lighting is really bad, so I thought that I would try this, which is upstairs on our roof garden. It is really early in the morning. It's beautiful. Nice little bird sounds every once in a while. Absolutely lovely sun coming up, so I thought that I would jump up here and kind of start maybe a vlog for this week. And it's all about what I'm reading, because I am going to try to focus a little more on reading and get that back into some type of sync. So I'm taking advantage of Nonfiction November, and I have just started reading a book that's really, really fascinating. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit, I don't know, uncomfortable to read, but I think it's really appropriate for what I'm seeing a lot in the world right now, particularly with social media and all the things going on. So I'm just going to introduce it for now, called Dark Persuasion, and it is a history of brainwashing from Pavlov to social media by Joel E. Dimsdale. So this one is basically taking the idea of brainwashing and tracing back its roots. Now, more of the formal aspect of brainwashing, once it started getting researched more, which Pavlov was the beginning of that, as he started really researching behavioral conditioning. And then it's going to go through that history up to now and the relevance possibly with the social media situation. So I'm very apprehensive but very curious, and so I thought it was a great one to start with Nonfiction November. Additionally, I am reading a fiction book that is actually called A Murder of Crows, which, if you don't know, a group of crows is actually, the group name is a murder. Maybe I need to do a little research to find out why that is. But that is a new series. They're calling it a cozy mystery. I guess it just means it's not hard-boiled. I think that's what I'm learning. Cozy is anything that isn't hard-boiled, isn't really, really graphic. Though I have to say, how the person was murdered wasn't particularly great, especially for her because she was murdered. But that's been an enjoyable book, and I'll talk a little bit more about that probably later on this week. I'm trying to finish it up. I started it when I was on vacation, and am now kind of focusing on both this Nonfiction November book and it at the same time, so it's going to slow it down, but it's been interesting. And it was actually a recommendation by Kindle, one of those free unlimited Kindle books, and it's the first 3 books in the series. So it is a I think it's Nell Ward mystery, and what's really cool about her is she's an ecologist. So in this case, she's studying bats, which is weird because we're talking about a murder of crows, but yet she seems to be all focused on bats. But again, more of that. But it gives her a certain perspective and gives her a reason for this character to be so observant. But, you know, it does go in the lines of she's an amateur sleuth or she's a reluctant sleuth. She ends up having to become a sleuth because she's one of the prime suspects in this murder. So, but I really like the fact that she's an ecologist, learning a lot about bats, which I like, and anything I can read and enjoy but also learn from, it's a bonus. So I hope that I can do this a little bit more this week and let you know when I'm reading the week 45. Yeah, week number 45 of 2023. Fast approaching 2024. Uncontrollably fast approaching. So one of the things I really enjoy having the books, the BOOX, that's a type of e-reader and electronic tablet that I have, is being able to write down what I find in my books and then being able to kind of keep those notes all together. Eventually the idea is that it'll go into my reading journal. So I sat upstairs for a little while longer, and this book is taking a lot longer than it probably should, because it seems like every other sentence there's something I want to note. There might be a quote, there might be something that I want to look up. But you know, again, really good books send you on to 50,000 other books and reading additionally, just to kind of understand even more what's being said. And that is one thing that the Dark Persuasion book is doing really, really well. But I did stay up here a little while longer. That sun comes up, it gets pretty warm. So then I had to start getting my mind around of putting my book away, and I needed to start getting busy for the week in the apartment. I usually try to do at least one kind of big job a week, and I needed to clean these sliding glass windows. But what happens is I also needed to go ahead and clean the patio. Now this has turned into quite a challenge because I don't have any type of water outside, so I'm having to carry it and then splash it onto the patio itself, just to do a quick clean. So why am I showing cleaning? Well, because they're kind of funny in some ways, and I've just walked outside. I have to share this. See me wandering around. I'm kind of looking for something. I'm looking for my squeegee that I need to use on the floor. And I tell you what, sometimes old age is just hilarious. So I go over, I move. Now remember that I moved that. Remember where I was at and where I was looking. Well, I guess I've given up. I'm grabbing my trusty mug and I'm just going to go start looking for my squeegee in the house. However, upon reviewing this video, I realized, and I realized too whenever I finally found it where it was at, but it was in the video the whole time. So I am zooming in on it right now. This is old age at its best, but you know, you do what you can do. And there's the squeegee. That's what I'm looking for. Remember, I moved that other thing over to the side. Now, going past on this, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna be cleaning the windows. I finished the patio and all of that, or at least that portion of the patio, and now I'm just doing the windows. Now, I know this isn't a cleaning vlog, or it shouldn't be, but what I wanted to talk about was the fact that while I'm doing this, I am listening to book, and right now I'm listening to Queen Lucia. I really don't know what my feelings on this are. I feel kind of strange talking about this, but the reality is that it's kind of one of those stories that are just, it seems like it's set in a village. Queen Lucia, I mean, she's kind of the queen of the village. Everybody bows down to her kind of thing. You know, she's the one that sets what proper etiquette. Now, she is not the highest ranking. There is a lady, somebody or another that's involved. And it's just, as I'm listening to this, I mean, they're interesting characters, I guess, but they're the typical, they're all in each other's business. They all have opinions, but every reply to one another has such multiple meanings to it. I mean, it's very much as the old Southern, oh, bless your heart half the time, or trying to figure out who's going to tell Lucia first, or are they going to bother telling her? And so it's a series of guffaws coming along as far as it makes them seem all very ridiculous, but they're so caught up in appearances with one another and trying to be on the quintessential, the next best thing and be the one that introduces it or at least tells Lucia. So I am going to finish this book. I have over 4 hours left. I do like listening to my audiobooks while I'm doing things that are kind of mindless, as you know, and whenever I usually, like, even whenever I'm coloring, I like to listen to it. This one I'm not going to recommend to anybody. I'm going to get through it. I'm going to see the ending of it. My big thing I'm looking for is to see, does this set of characters, do they ever change? Like, is there any growth? Is there anything that changes them? And if not, then it's just a book about a bunch of very nosy neighbors in a village. But it could be very fun, I think, for some people, but I don't think I would pick it up or, like I said, recommend it.
I'm now on the inside cleaning away. So this is another thing about this apartment that's so funny is, as you can see, I have to move stuff all the time to be able to get to stuff, and then I have to move it back. It's like a constant game of Jenga or Tetris. I don't know which one you might say it is, but it does make for a good workout, that's for sure. As far as whenever I do want to, get some cleaning done. So this is on Monday, and, it's just one of those things where I need to get this done. I knew I was going to have to do laundry. Laundry is a 2-day process. And so I needed to get the patio cleaned up anyways, because I'm going to have clothes out there drying. And again, I love having those windows and everything, but they need to be cleaned. And now I'm doing vacuuming everywhere, because eventually I'm going to have also things that I'm like going to be ironing, and I don't want anything to get dirty. So if you're not exhausted, I had to sit down and have a cuppa. So here comes a contraption that I have to put up to put the laundry out. And usually I can get 2 loads of laundry done a day, and that's about it. Largely because it takes so long for things to dry, and I have 1 unit to use. So my washer and dryer are the same unit. So it's not like I can dry while I'm washing. Not to mention when you dry them, it's like on furnace heat. So that's even better. Now here, I actually get some time later this week, and I've really tried to start picking up my coloring again. And this is in, let's see, what book is it? The World of Flowers by Joanna Basford. And I'm trying to use a different color palette than I've used in the past. It's very interesting. I love these kind of more, I don't know what it would be. It's like pinks and neutrals kind of color. That's what I worked on all week. I did finish that particular page. The opposite page I hadn't finished quite yet. So I was able to get to a cafe, and I took my Dark Persuasion with me. I had a lovely green matcha. I don't do this very often, and I think I need to do it more. Number one, because I've had a little bit of bouts of being kind of, I don't know, feeling kind of depressed. I think I've been in the apartment too much, and just going and sitting at a cafe and still reading and enjoying was lovely. I had breakfast, and then I also had this latte, and I just need to do it more. That's definitely something I need to do. You know how when you have a moment when you're reading that you look up and you want to talk about it with someone, you want somebody else to read it and then to discuss it? Well, this was one of those moments when I was reading Dark Persuasion.
So it's the end of the week. Those are just a few of the things that I did. I have to say, going to that cafe was probably one of the best things. It just kind of suddenly went an aha moment for me. And, just periodically leaving the house, I need to do a little bit more of. There's plenty of places I can go and just enjoy myself and go relax and still read. I probably won't do coloring outside of the house, and that's largely because I just packing all of it up and having all the colors with me and choices. A little bit of like I'll be working on one section when I'm coloring, and then I'll look over and think, oh, I could do that instead, or I wonder what those colors would look like, and then I start messing with that. So I like that creative process when I'm coloring. It is good to see and to see progress. So I am doing a lot of works in progress type, going back into my coloring and kind of going through those. Now that page that I did, that I showed you, that one is brand new. In fact, that was the first page that I colored in my World of Flowers that I've now had for like 2 years. So trying to get back into that and enjoying myself quite a lot. I don't know if I'll do some coloring videos. I don't know if they're really of interest to people anymore. I know I'm having a really hard time finding other colorists out there to watch and get inspiration from. So I'm watching a lot of the old ones, but I'm hoping maybe to get back into it, and maybe there's a small group of you that would like to watch actually what I'm doing and the colors I'm choosing, or if you have any questions about something that I've colored, that I can actually create a video to respond to that. And then, so I did finish this week, I did finish A Murder of Crows. Now, I went and did some research to find out about why they're called that. And what I basically found out was that murder of crows, or any of those things, I mean, that we hear. So some, even things like, the ostentatiousness of peacocks. There's the pietists of doves. Those kind of weird things that we hear or we read. It's a lot of time it's in literature. Actually comes from way back into the 15th century in England. And it was a bunch of, sounds like really posh gentlemen sitting around trying to see how literary they were. And it's very poetic. It has a term, but I haven't really come to terms with what that term is yet. But basically, they started trying to come up with better, more poetic versions of what these plural nouns, so to speak, of these birds should be. And it's not just birds. I mean, they do it with other animals too, but they don't have any scientific basis whatsoever. In fact, somebody who studies birds would never refer to them as a murder of crows. All birds are referred to as flocks. So it's a flock of crows. It doesn't matter. So if you were to say it's a flock of crows and somebody can go, oh no, it's not. It's actually a murder. Why do I put on that accent whenever I want to be snooty? Oh well. But if somebody came up and said, no, actually it's a murder of crows and that's what it's known as, they're wrong. It's not scientifically, but it is more of a literary device that kind of came about. The pietisness of doves is because doves were associated so much or mentioned so much in the Bible. So that's where that term comes up. We know what the ostentatiousness of a peacock, that totally makes sense. But why a murder of crows? And I think it's because of the association of of death, well, which would come from murders, but death and crows. So if you think about, huge battlefields, the crows come. They're carrion birds. They will take advantage of that. I mean, I kept thinking of some of the pirates that had been hung in cages and stuff. In Pirates of the Caribbean had crows. I think some of those heads that they had there at Trader's Gate there in England probably had a few crows coming around and poking away at the eyes. Really nasty stuff. The thing is crows are very, very intelligent and very fascinating. And then midway through this book, I finally figured out why it was called A Murder of Crows. It's because the two victims, their last names are Crows. That's the last name of the victims. It makes sense. I'm like, why that didn't hit me right from the very beginning. It literally was middle of the book. I'm like I'm reading. I'm like, oh, that's why it's Murder of Crows. Light bulb moment. Sometimes we think we really understand a book and then we miss the whole point of the title. So that book, it was good. I wanted to give it 4 stars. I enjoyed getting to know Dr. Nell Ward and the process. And I enjoyed, there's some really good points in it, particularly when she has to deal with her lawyer, or her lawyer has to deal with her, I should say. Very smart, intelligent advice that was given, very, believable. There was nothing hokey about it. And the kind of the investigation was pretty good as well. And then of course, all of the knowledge and why Nell would notice things made so much sense with her being an ecologist. So from that part of the story, really liked it and loved that she is an ecologist. One slight problem, I feel like it's either an add-on or to add pages, or it's to get maybe some people hooked if they want a romance angle. I don't think the book needed it, but I guess it's going to be a part of what it is. Nell is an interesting character with a past. She had a very tragic event happen in her life, and she comes from a very different world. And she's kept it as a secret from everybody, particularly in the book. And she ends up in the middle of, dare I say, a love triangle. And I have to say, that's where it lost it for me. It made the guys that are part of this love triangle, these 2 guys, just behave in ways that didn't make sense for who they were in the story. And it didn't add to the story. These 2 characters could have easily been in the book without there being any hint of a romance. And I always sound like such a downer about romances, and it's just not true. Because two of my favorite series that are cozy mysteries as well, which is Her Royal Spyness and Veronica Speedwell, they have huge amounts of romance in them, and relationship type things, and it adds so much, and it's done so well, and it gives the people that are part of that relationship aspect of the novels respect as to who they are. This, I felt like there was some really actions, and I didn't understand why they fell in love with her as much as they are, like almost to the point of doing things you probably shouldn't do professionally, questionable. And so that detracted. It almost felt like an editor got a hold of it then and said, what would be great is if we had a romance. And what's really good? Why do I give editor that voice? Really, I'm disrespectful. I'm sorry. But, saying things like, the audiences might like a more of romance. Hey, why don't we just do what's kind of a big thing going on right now? Trying to make, some type of triangular romance or something. And it feels like it kind of was put back in there, but a little bit clumsily, and I just don't think it was needed. I am going to continue on with the series. I have the first 3 books that were a part of the Kindle free, and I'm going to read the next one. And I'm glad these are free, because I personally think by the next one I'll know if the love triangle, it continues, it appears to, or has the opportunity to. And I'm kind of like, well, we'll see where it goes, or if it's, and I'm not reading it because I want to know where the love triangle goes. I want to see if it gets a little bit stronger or more relevant or more believable, or does it get solved and it's no longer a part going into the third. Because she's a great standalone character on her own. She comes from an interesting background, both with the ecologist aspect and also just her family background. And I think I think you can continue on kind of looking into these things. And the interesting thing is the murders don't have to be about an animal species or, any of that. That's usually the reason she is someplace she is, but it's her skills as an ecologist of awareness and knowledge of multiple different things that comes into play. And I thought that was done very well. I learned a lot about bats, their habitats and stuff. And I also learned a lot about what an ecologist does. So for right now, I would probably recommend it to a few of my friends, but not wholeheartedly, and with the caveat that there might be a bit of the romance that's distracting and not necessarily addition to the story. So I really am not anti-romance. I just don't see putting it in for no reason. It needs to add something. So I hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking in with me. I did finish the one book. I still have Queen Lucia to finish. Got about 2 hours left in that. Ugh. Yeah, I'll just let you know, I won't be recommending that, but I do want to see if the ending, like I said, I'm trying to see if there's any change. And so far, we're 2 hours from the ending, and there's no change in those characters. They are just as all up in each other's businesses. It's the old lady looking over the fence and noticing everything, but it's everybody. And I think it's set in the I don't know. I think it's pre-World War I, in a little village, and it's just, yeah. But I'll finish it just because I am curious about that one aspect. I don't think it could save it for me, but it might give me, I could recommend it maybe to some people who I know are more just interested in a story with characters in it and them all getting in each other's business. There's been some funny little things, but it's not been a riot. I am trying to continue to read Dark Persuasion. It is literally 7 pages at a time because there's just so much going on. But we just hit another chapter where things are moving a little bit quicker. And that one I'll talk about a little bit more once I finish that. And let's see, I think that's about it for me. Yeah, that's it for this week. So week number 45. Thanks for checking in. And as I always keep saying, keep turning those pages. Bye for now.
Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up. Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up. Today's gonna be a good day.